Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first 2026 Cataloging Interest Group. Well, I was going to say of this year, but of course it's of this year. I am Jennifer Weston. I'm the facilitator of this fine group. If you happen to be joining us as somebody new or have only been here a few times, on behalf of the organizing committee, whose names are always at the top of our agenda, we welcome you. And thanks to the organizing committee, we've been meeting and trying to put together plans for the next few months so that you will know in advance or much more in advance, what our plans are for each of the meetings. Again, thank you all for being here today. And again, I'm moving things around on my other screen so I can see you all. Nice big group. What our plan is for today is to talk a little about, I'm going to scroll down here, about what our topics are. Did I not put our topics on there? This is just not nice at all. Program. I've been, as you probably have noticed, been working on the format of this. So we're going to talk about bibliographic record templates today after we do a little year in review as I type as we go. And I'm going to just very briefly pop over to this other tab, because when I say that this has changed a little bit, I don't even have, yeah, there we are, second Tuesdays. Here we are, current program, that's where I need to be. That looks much better. There are two tabs here in Google Docs now. One of them is to kind of limit the noise that is on this document, because this is our notes document. If you haven't heard that before, everybody should have, at this point, everybody that's here should have access to edit this document. So I'm not excellent at taking notes as I go along. I do try to make a valiant effort of coming back afterwards and update our notes. But if there's anything you want to add as we go along, please do. Everybody now has opportunity to make such adjustments. So what we do have here is I do have my program listed there. Our standing agenda item is on a separate tab so that we can go through all of those things. I've kind of summarized there. We'll do our welcome and some events that we have going on. And so these are our standing agenda items before we get into them. So they live over here on the standing agenda item. And of course, we have links to the wiki. We always celebrate all the releases. Just a note, 3.16.3, 3.15.9 came out in January. And even so, well, not even better, but supplementary to that, the tabular release notes are now officially updated. Elizabeth Davis has taken this on, and we appreciate her ever so much for doing that. So I copied over the changes she made just before this meeting. If you were thinking, no, they're not, yes, they were. As of about 5 minutes ago, the tabular release notes are indeed updated. And the 316 is on there now. So if you're looking forward to more about what's coming with 316, there's a tab for that now. We've got other things to discuss, so I won't delve into that. But if you haven't seen the tabular release notes, here you go. And it is updated. Okay, latest releases will update. There we go. All right, community demo server roadmap. We always pause to thank those, even if they're not here with us, but those working on development. There's 316, we're still leaving there, even though we've moved on to 317. And there's a development roadmap. Okay, so celebrations is always where I like to pause. We get this far along. Bug squashing week was last week. Yes, it was. And so there's a final report. If you didn't have the opportunity to participate, I highly encourage you go back through. The report is great, but then go back through those spreadsheets that Taryn made available. And this is the official report, but you can go back to the activities and stats and stuff here if you want to see those, in fact, including bug numbers. On this spreadsheet, and I did that kind of quickly, but on this spreadsheet, she has what were the patches that were signed off on, including open pull requests still. There are quite a few really nice things for cataloging. And the descriptions were really good this time. So if you want to just kind of dig in there and see, a lot of these are fixes. They're not new features, but they are fixes that we've been looking for. And it was nice to see them come to fruition. So like deleted parts are now visible on the grid. These are just little, quality of life type of enhancements, but very nice indeed. So give this some time if you haven't already. Say thank you to everybody who's tested along the way, whether it was last week or even reporting the bugs and testing up until this point to get them over the finish line. See fix committed, that means we can look forward to them very soon. So yeah. Taryn is going to join us next month to talk about bug squashing. So we can introduce those of you that may not yet be participating in bug squashing. She'll talk about how to get involved, and then we'll also look at the most recent results of those as well. So we can look forward to spending a little more time on bug squashing in March. Yes. I'm talking quickly so we can get to our actual program here. But there's a lot in celebrations to talk about. Mary, do the deleted parts show to patrons placing holds? I don't think so, no. I think the deleted parts are just, in fact, the way the functionality works is when you're on the grid and you're looking for them, you can just turn them on. It's a setting. You can turn it on and off and see if you want them. It's just an extra column we see on the staff side. So no, I don't. Let's look into it though, Mary, to confirm. I'll make a note. We'll figure it out. I don't think so. I didn't. When I was testing, I didn't look at the OPAC though. I don't think so is my answer, but we'll verify between you and I. I'll follow up with you. Turning my page to take paper notes. And feel free to keep looking at that list if there's anything else we want to look at while we're together. I'm moving on, but those of you that want to keep hanging out there on bug squashing, please feel free. All right. Evergreen Conference. I know we talk about this every month. It's because I'm very excited about having an opportunity to see many of you in person. The schedule has been posted. The announcement's going out later today, so if you are not involved in the planning, then you'll be one of the first to hear that the schedule is available on the website. So here's the conference, along with the keynote speaker announcement. So that'll be going out later today, if not first thing tomorrow morning, as I understand it. Here are this is the program schedule. There's also, as always, program descriptions. There's on a different tab. We've got some really nice opportunities to get involved from a cataloging point of view, in addition to just the rest of the community, which we will support, but we always focus on the catalogers first. We will be meeting in person as a group at 8 a.m. on one of the mornings here. So anyway, I'm scrolling to get to one of the first ones. That will be cataloging. All right. Thanks to Tiffany, who is doing decoding and fixing EDI error messages while it's not directly to cataloging. Tiffany does so much work with our group, so I want to thank her for putting that one forward. Carol Witt's going to be there talking about creating and updating mark authority records. We've got some reports that are kind of related there for collection development. Anyway, you can review them. I just want to take a moment to thank those of you that have volunteered your time to participate in such a way as to give a presentation at the conference. Here's where we'll be meeting on Friday at 8 a.m. Yes, we will, in person. So note about the conference, they're not being recorded. None of the presentations are being recorded. So when we come back the month after April, which is May, we will bring back updates to the group for those of you that aren't able to attend. We will talk about the presentations and move conversations forward in the month of May. All right, I'm not going to keep scrolling. Thanks to, I know Kate is doing, talking about training programs. Andrew, you're doing on how to write specs, requirements, use cases, and user stories. And I see you're here, which is great. We're going to need your input here in about 10 minutes when we talk about bibliographic templates and trying to improve those a bit. Okay, anyway, still scrolling. So thank you all so very much. Here is the one I was trying to get to. This catalog searching skills, the next level. This is one we talked about as a group. We were asked to present on something that was more introductory. There's this whole intro track. This track one, I should have led with that. It's all intro, not necessarily meaning introduction to the Evergreen as if you're walking in off the street, but more about different areas that people might not be involved in and might not have as information about if they work in different areas. So we're taking on just cataloging searching skills. So things that are beyond just using your advanced search and that's it in the staff clients. It's going to be great once Kate and I decide exactly what we want to say. So if you have any ideas, send them. And of course, Andrea's doing the new features in Evergreen. As always, she'll have a new partner in crime this year with Katie Greenleaf Martin. And we can't wait to see what that looks like. I might as well just keep scrolling. Elizabeth's doing batches, because this is tradition. Elizabeth is going to do batches, baskets, and buckets. And that really, truly is tradition. All right. And Kathy's going to end up with talk on the Grateful Dead, and it really does relate to open source community. There we go. So I encourage you to ask questions about the programs, and those that, if you can't attend, if you want to talk to anybody that's presenting in advance, please do, but we'll make sure we get copies of the presentations. Post as always. Talking too much. I'm going to skip the map. If you don't know what the map is, and if you are not located on the map, your names are not on the map. Locations are located on the map. That's just my little vanity project I like to keep I like the visual of where we're all located. It makes me happy to see that we're just spread all over, that we are a very disparate group. We come together regularly. Okay, the last thing that I am going to look at here, these is where we talk about all the different interest groups, and we are now up to 16 or 17 different interest groups or working groups, which is fabulous. I did not have an opportunity to verify that I'd updated all of these, so if I missed when your group is meeting, if you're involved in, shoot, I'm talking ahead of myself. This is not the interest groups. This is your organizations. What version you might be on in Evergreen. So if I slow down, I will read. Yes. So I do rely on all of you to update your own notes here. If you want to drop them in chat, I'll make sure they get updated. So we kind of like to see how libraries are doing when they upgrade, give you the opportunity to talk about how things are going as you're planning for or have recently upgraded. We had a lot that we talked about in December when last we were together. Evergreen, Indiana, it looks like I think you've moved since you've upgraded since the last time we talked. And we talked about the Mars change. Yeah, so here's what I will pause since I am clearly rushing ahead too much. Anybody want to talk about how your upgrades have gone or what your plans are while I take a sip of tea? Mary, you're upgrading later this month. Okay, great.
We're also upgrading later this month in Missouri Evergreen. We have started to update annually, usually a version behind of the most recent version, and that is working really great for us. We get access to our test server, a few weeks or more before the actual upgrade. And we really like having that scheduled upgrade every year.
The same here. We get more than a few weeks. We usually have put on a test server about 6 months before we're going to upgrade. It gives us time to test it and document it for our users.
Mary, you say 6 months. Okay, cool.
Give or take.
Yeah. And
I'll add that I think we're going to try to keep the previous version of Evergreen on a separate server once we upgrade so that when you get that thing where someone says, oh, it's doing this now when you just upgraded. I remember it was doing this. We now will have, or we're planning to have the previous version so that we can verify that it really was that.
cool
just to
idea.
help us troubleshoot a little bit more, but I don't think we have it in place yet.
I do like that idea. But you're right, that's absolutely when you have to verify when people say it doesn't work the way it used to.
You rely on your memory and with everything changing and, it's not, you can't always know for sure.
No, you certainly can't. All right, Charles, last big push has been to implement single sign-on. Yes, for all staff logins. I recognize you have a state regulation now. You've just got one college left. So has that been implemented then for all of your colleges except for one? So it's now in place?
Sorry, it took me a minute to find the audio button. The last college is in progress. That may actually be done, but the last update that I got last week was that there was still one to finish up. So, but yeah, Mobius has been working with us on that. So yeah, and I'm not sure when we're planning to upgrade again. So
you have one project at a time, right, Joe?
Yeah. We're still kind of limping along. I mean, half of our consortium has been on it just over a year. The first half is we've just passed our 2-year mark. So
congratulations. Fabulous. And single sign-on is big, so you'd look for that in the release notes for others that may feel the need to do that. And it is probably not the too distant future. So thanks for being pioneers and testing that out. I captured Mary's notes. I captured everything else. Coming soon, November 2025. Nope. So just did that one. That one needs updated then. We'll just say next upgrade to be determined. right, so if anybody else sees anything needs updating on there, again, please feel free to do that. We do like to hear as you're doing the upgrades too, if there's any kind of feedback you want to provide or share with groups, especially those that may not yet have upgraded. I'll continue on now. I will not go through what I thought I was doing already, through all the interest groups with my very excited talk about we're up to 16 or 17. If any of these dates are incorrect, please update them. I will verify after this call. One thing, having things over on the other tab, I have to remember to check both now. That's it. I will ask for announcements though. Any announcements from any of the interest groups? I can announce the authorities working group is meeting this month on the 18th. We don't have a regular meeting time yet. Or a regular pattern meeting. So one of the things we're going to be working out. It's the 18th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Anybody interested in that? Come on. And then because it's a standing order, I'm not going to look at any of these now, but these are just quick links to bugs that have those specific tags on them. Let's see what we have staff catalog blocker, just out of curiosity. We are down to 3. Fabulous. Catalog blockers are those that libraries feel like they need updated before they upgrade, or they're just workarounds that we I've implemented outside of the traditional catalog now. So things that, you know, that need a little bit of love more than some of these others. Because those are the 3 we've been watching. We started at 12, a little over a year ago, maybe 2 years. So down to 3 is fabulous. Alrighty. And here's my little note about, I said we had been meeting, the organizing committee had been meeting to do some planning for this year. And so I've already introduced that March is going to be intro to Launchpad and participating in bug squashing. This is going to be with Taryn. That means in April, we're going to be in person for those of you that will be there. So we're going to meet, even though it's 8 a.m. I promise to still be pleasant, but we're going to be in person at the conference. So we will not meet otherwise in April. We will get back together the first Tuesday in May, and then we'll just talk about what went on in the conference and anything that came out of there and continue the momentum. June, we're going to talk about Library of Things cataloging. So if you have suggestions and examples, things you're already doing with Library of Things, we'd love to start collecting those. And then we'll come back in July. We'll figure that'll be enough time to get back and then start talking about bug review again. I like to do that at least twice a year. So bug review just means whatever bugs are bugging you, and we talk about them, test them, demo them, share the publicity of them. So bug review will be in July. Doesn't mean we can't talk about bugs at other times, but we'll focus that particular session just on bugs. Check. Yeah, so all of our standing stuff we can leave out of the way because it is very noisy. Current program, year in review. And I'm going to very briefly show this just because I'd like to celebrate the work that we do and the work of the community. This is a very quick 2-page document. In no way is it meant to be, a complete overview of what we've done, other than just a reminder we can come back to. So if you are looking at ways you can participate in this group, looking at ways you continue to want to participate in this group, I want to be able to say these are the things that we've done. So I won't go through all of them. We spent a bit of time the first of the year, like we do every year, like we're doing now. We did some reflection and planning last January, and did some bug squashing review. I do mark when the big releases came out, the new feature releases, to kind of mark those milestones. We looked at some particular bugs. Holdings editor was one of the things we spent a lot of time on last year, and we've seen quite a bit of progress, including items, alerts, notes, tags. That was a big one that came out. We did a lot of testing. We did talk about Aspen, and thanks to Sierra from CW Mars, who came in and talked to us about how Aspen and Evergreen work together and did a bit of a demo there, along with providing resources for how to get involved in the Aspen community as an Evergreen user. And then we met online at the conference last year, so there are notes there. June, again, back to the market editor and holdings editor bug. Did I say we talked about that a lot last year? In retrospect, we certainly did. So there were a couple of bugs we were following. July, we did some bug squashing, and we talked about Amazon Business Mark Records because that was new to us. Libby came and did a presentation for us on regular expressions. I've got a link to the handout, but there are links to a lot more information and resources on the meeting notes from August. September, we just talked about things that have been on the listserv, emojis, diacritics, things going on in the world. November, we talked about templates, which is why we are where we are now, because we want to keep that conversation going today. In December, we talked about brainstorming for this year, which we've very much appreciated. We reviewed all of those notes, getting ready for the conference and doing planning for this year. So again, it's a simple document, but it is one that kind of helpful as we go back and talk about topics we don't want to lose track of and come back to. So I hope you share this along. We will put it up on the wiki. It's not there, but I'll get it updated. The wiki is updated now with recordings and all the meeting agenda notes, all of that from last year. But there you go. Not a lot to talk about unless you have questions, suggestions, send them my way. But again, this was just meant to be a quick look back as we start looking ahead. Thank you all for a year. That was kind of felt busier than usual to me, but maybe they're all going to feel that way. But I do thank you for continuing your work in the community and with this group. Okay, bibliographic record templates. Now, the actual program while we're here. One of the things as we were talking about as a community is bibliographic templates is one of those things that if your library is using them, you find them very beneficial in that, I mean, it's a template, and I should probably just bring this up. Actually, no, I don't want to do that. I want to hand the screen sharing over in a moment. So Evergreen templates are those that you can just go to if you're doing original cataloging, and it gives you a template that you can use to just start with a bit of a structure. If you're doing original cataloging, you can pre-fill a lot of the fields, of course. The current, I won't call it a stumbling block, but the current workflow functionality of having new templates added or editing current ones is you have to do them on the server side, which means you, of course, have to talk to whomever your admin is to make that happen. Not a huge stumbling block, and your friendly server admins will be glad to do that. But we're envisioning a future where we could do that within the staff interface. So Kate from Missouri Evergreen is agreed to talk a little about how they are using those. And Amy is here from CW Mars to talk about how they are using them. So Kate, can I just ask you to kind of take over? Are you at a point where you could share your screen?
I sure am. Should I request it or are you going to give it?
Let's see if I can just get to you. I can make you a host. Why don't you request it? That'll be easier for me to say yes. Allow. There you go. Thank you so much. And I will stop sharing. That would help. There you go. All yours.
Okay. Do you see Evergreen right now? Oh, let me see, actually. Sorry. Share screen one.
Yes, it's in the process.
There we go. Okay, so I will admit I looked a little forward in our program and I saw Amy from CW Mars is going to be speaking after me, and their template list is a little more thorough. They have more templates than we do, but a couple of years ago, we just had some really basic Evergreen templates that we use, and we are a statewide consortium, so we have catalogers of all different knowledge levels across our state. So we wanted to get something that would not only template, but was almost a guide as well. And all of this work was done by our consortium catalog, Liz Rudloff, who is here today if we have any big questions about it. But so we're going to create a new MARC record here. Okay. And then we have everything. So we made templates based on what the most common questions were from across our consortium. So of course we have books and DVDs and that kind of thing. But like here, you'll notice we have DVD TV. It's specifically for TV programs because those tend to be multi-disc or what have you. So what Liz has done here is, and we have of course tried to train our catalogers across the state. Anytime that they see a question mark in one of these templates is something that they need to find the answer to, essentially, or they need to delete because there isn't corresponding information to go there. Now, of course, we know with fixed fields, that's kind of hard to do, but we have trained them to how to go through the 007 and that kind of thing for that. But you'll see here So we use 049, which is a local field. So we want to be sure that those are always filled out. Here in the 300 field, you can see what I mean when we kind of guided them. So how many video discs was this TV program? You see here, do you need to add that S? What are the hours and minutes? And so we essentially just did a very thorough bib record. And this is also a great teaching tool because if like I said, we have catalogers of all knowledge bases. So if they don't know what a 511 is, this might prompt them to go figure that out. Now, when I talked to Liz about because when we talked about this program, one of the questions I got was, how did you even ask your sysadmin to do this? And so I talked to Liz this morning. Well, I talked to her about 20 minutes before this meeting, to be honest, and asked her because I myself didn't know. And she said that she sent it over in an XML. Let me see here. And because we have a host, so we do not have in-house sysadmin, we have a host. So if we had needed our host to rewrite all of these for us, then it would have been a paid project. But as Liz likes to say, she knows just enough XML to get in trouble. So our sysadmin and gave us an example of what this file needed to look like. And then Liz extrapolated from that what needed to be in here. Now, again, looking ahead at what Amy's going to say, they have an XML converter tool. I'd never, seen anything like that. So that's super cool. But we saw the need to expand what was already offered because of our cataloger demand and questions. And so we just approached them and said, can you please do this for us? And they said, it needs to come to us in this specific way. But then, yeah, when we sent them to them, it didn't take any time at all. Liz, do you have anything you want to add?
This was one of the first things I did when I started at Missouri Evergreen, so they probably should be updated. So I will say that. But also, because of how the XML output was working when I was trying to convert them, it was easier for me to just plunk them into XML myself instead of trying to edit the XML that was given to me if I used a converter. Now, that doesn't mean that's true with all converters. I don't know. I don't even remember which one I used at this point. So use that information as you would.
Does anyone have any questions about the very brief overview that I gave of Missouri Evergreen's stuff? Again, these templates, if you don't use them, they can be a real boon to your catalogers. Now, of course, I know that a lot of us don't do any type of original cataloging, really. You get all of your records from somewhere else, so this might not be applicable to everyone, but they're very helpful to us in Missouri Evergreen.
Did you create just a list of them? And as Liz said, she did those when she first came on. Did you find you were adding to them? Or did you just take it on as a project and say, these are the ones we want? You did them all at once.
I think so. We have a cataloging committee in Missouri Evergreen, and we did kind of come together and decide what we wanted. And we Liz looked at, questions that she had gotten consistently, so we knew we needed them. Now, I don't know, this isn't something that like we add one or two every year or something. But I don't think that if we wanted to, that would be an issue. Liz, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, we can always add more. But our thinking when we did this is that we were going to have crib sheets also at some point. So we use the templates along with, like, we have an extensive crib sheet list now, and it's the combination of the two that kind of get people limping through original cataloging when they're not used to doing it, not having as many templates. Although I do add templates as people ask for them, but it's not very regular that they do.
Got it.
We do add crib sheets regularly. I'm telling you guys now, I know it's off topic, but Missouri Evergreen's crib sheet, it's like 150 pages long or whatever. It's a thing of beauty. It's so beautiful.
That will have to be demoed at some point. I do love art, and it sounds like art. All right. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Liz, for being here too. It's nice to see how you just made it work. Which, Amy, it sounds like you did something similar. You had to convert them into XML.
We did have to convert them into XML. So when we started this project, I think we didn't realize the scope was going to be as large as it was, and we committed to a small time frame in getting it done. And we had to use the converter tool. And I can show you the process. I don't know how much time you have for me. I just found out I was going to do this yesterday, so I'm not quite as prepared as Kate
That's
was,
okay.
but I think we have enough to show you. Um, I'm not sure where I go to request to share.
Let me see if I can do that now that I've stopped sharing. Well,
Where Kate, where did you go to request to share?
yeah, I'm looking at, yeah, Kate can tell you. Is there a little button?
Wait, Kate, are you still there?
I'm so sorry. I've just
That's
been
okay.
talking this whole time. When you hover over where your audio and video, where you turn those on and off,
Yep,
there should be in that larger ribbon, there should be a share button there.
I have a share button.
Okay, so just what what does it?
I mean, if I click it, it allows me things to share, but I thought you just press something that says request to share.
Oh no, if it's giving you the choice to share, that means you
Oh, okay.
can share. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me try it then.
Yep.
Nice.
Okay. So, do you guys see my evergreen?
We do.
Yes.
Okay. So, once upon a time, we had a bunch of templates that were ACR2. And then when we wanted to move to RDA templates, we knew that it was a big process and that we were going to have to restart Evergreen and it was going to be a whole thing. So we wanted to make sure we had all the template types that we wanted to, and we did change them over. And then we wanted to do some more edits. And by that time, we had an outside host for our server. So the process was just going to take a little bit longer to do. So we really thought about all the questions that we get from libraries about how to make certain templates. And we made sure we had all the templates we thought we would need before we created them. So I'll show you our list of templates here. I think it's something like 32. I can take one and show you what one of them looks like. I really like your idea, Kate, with the question marks. What we did is we created something called cataloging notes that we have on our internal our intranet site, and I can show you those as well, but let me get you through this template first. Our first templates that we offered back in AACR2 were very basic, and we created these to be more descriptive so that they wouldn't have to think so much about where to put indicators or what text to put in certain places. We also added things like down here, we have some local author subfields in case, and because for original cataloging, we do have a lot of local author materials. So we thought we would just add it in there and then it could be taken out if not needed. So we have the cataloging notes. Yep, okay. We don't have all the materials yet, but this is our first grouping of ones. So if you click any particular ones, we'll do the hardcover. We did highlighting of the required fields in the record. So we wanted to make it this where they could be as basic or as complex as any one cataloger wanted them to be. So all the highlighted fields are required. And the reason we have a lot of catalogers who want to make them very, I shouldn't say complex, want to make them very full records is because we have about 600 to 700 requests for original cataloging at the moment. And we knew that people would want to get their materials on the shelf and have them be robust records and findable in every way. So we wanted to make sure that they could put any and all information in them that they wanted to. So this really breaks out every field, every subfield, and then at the bottom of every cataloging note format is a sample record. And you might say to yourself, well, why couldn't they just look at any bib record for a similar item? And they can, but this just, peels out a particular record into those, chops it up into each particular field. And we're adding to them as we go along. We've got, I think, about 10 or 12 of them in at the moment. And then as we go back to the templates themselves, what we've told them is if you don't put text in any particular field, so if you don't have a 500 note to put in, they will need to delete that field before they save the record because it has the subfields in them. They'll need to delete them. And we also told them in those cataloging notes that there are some fields that they don't need to touch. So for instance, the 330s are there and don't need to be added to or taken away from. They're already filled out for them. We have a lot of libraries who use the Library of Things templates. So we have about 5 of those. We've got our LOT templates here. Those are very popular. And we've kind of done like you have, Kate, where we've really spelled out or left blanks for where they need to put information in.
Yeah, we're very similar, Amy, in that when it comes to original cataloging, a lot of it has to do with local authors and then Library of things. So we're the exact same way where these are the ones that get to use the most heaviest and that people are the most unsure about as well. So
Right.
these made a lot of sense.
Right. We have catalogers across the spectrum as far as they've never done it before or they're seasoned catalogers, and this way they can do one or the other. They can make it as, basic as they want, or they can make it as robust as they want. And they have told us that they are happy about having the cataloging notes to go along with. I can show you briefly the tool that we were referring to as far as converting them from MARC to XML. And it is, it is tedious when you're doing 32 of them. If you're just doing kind of 1 or 2, it's not such a big deal. And if you make a mistake, I guess if you understand XML, you could go into the file and make the one change, but I'm not as familiar with XML. So for me, I had to, when we were looking at 32 templates, we read them, different eyeballs, took looks at them to make sure they looked okay. But of course, as we, posted them on the site, we realized, oh my gosh, there's no comma there. And we didn't want to have to restart the servers and that sort of thing. So there are a couple of templates that have either something missing or something extra. But basically what you have to do is you have to take your template file. Let's see where I was. Drive. This might take longer than we want to, but I can open one in the tool that we have. So the site is called tools and the number 4 lib.com. basics, very basic here. So tools, the number 4, lib.com. You take your file, you go into Mark Editor, and you save it as a .mrc file. You compile it to .mrc. You go to this site here, you choose your file. Oh, sorry, I chose the wrong one. Anyway. And you convert it into an XML file here. And you have to go into the file in Notepad. And you have to take out certain terms. To take out some stuff in the brackets. You have to move around certain things and then you save it. And see what I mean where how it looks here? So if you forgot a comma, I can't go through here and figure out where I want to take out the comma. So for me, it was all about saving it again.
Sure.
You know, so
Mhm.
if you have to do that 30 times, 32 times, if you forgot one thing in every template, it's kind of time consuming. So if we had something, a tool to do within Evergreen, it would be great.
Yeah, just editing would be excellent.
Yeah.
It's a nice tool. I'll put it in our notes. Your
Okay.
tools for lib link. Okay, and as many of you already noticed, the list that Amy, you and Carol shared of your templates, I just pulled them over into QuickDoc to share too, so you can see all the templates that you have. It's very helpful to see how you're using them and clearly the time you put into putting together the group of templates. And I can see Chris is working on them too and is fighting the differences in Mark XML and what Mark Edit does. So I can understand
Yep.
that's frustrating as well. To
Yep.
where if we took it, if we moved this particular functionality back into it's never been there. If we moved it into the staff interface, then it does give us more of the opportunity. I mean, because clearly the interface is supporting the bib record structure. So it's a matter of saving a bib record as a template. It's basically right. And that's what we're looking at. Let's thank you both, Kate, Amy, Liz, for being here and sharing the work that you've done already. I'd like to take a little bit of time we have left here and talk about where we would want to go next with this. We did some preliminary conversation. We had some preliminary conversations in the organizing committee, and I dropped some notes there. And I see there's a bug we want to talk about too before we wrap up here. But when we're thinking about just a basic ask, basic request was we'd like to be able to update what's available in stock Evergreen. And we were talking very, very basic. So if we could get examples from those of you that already have really good templates that you're willing to share. So right now, stock Evergreen, if you're a library that simply doesn't have any of these at all, we're wondering if we couldn't just put together a nice little collection, have a working group that spends, one or two meetings and that's it. And then you put together your templates and then ask for them to be loaded, but become part of stock Evergreen so that they get, incorporated into each of the new release. It's just there. So it becomes part of essentially, I don't know if you call that part of Concerto, but anyway, so that Evergreen ships with it and they're always there is one of the first things we thought. That's kind of wouldn't take development work. It would just take pushing it through the community. So we need to start a Launchpad bug specifically for that. There is a bug that's been around for years and years with the request to move this into the staff interface. So let me pause there. Is that the kind of thing that would be helpful to libraries? Or are there those of you that think, well, gosh, I've already got my own. So I'm just seeing if there's truly an interest. I don't like to put my interest onto the community and start asking for things. So I like feedback on what you think about putting together just a collection that would then be shared into the community. Even a thumbs up would help. There we go. Yes, please. Okay. Berks County, we shall do that. Oh, great. Grand Rapids is already looking at doing that. Fabulous. Okay. Then we'll make this happen. I will be calling upon many of you. My ideal in my let's push this forward is I would love for this to be the kind of thing that when those of us that are together in April could finalize it and then just use our connections and time while we're there to just kind of make sure that it's in a good enough space to get it into what will be the next release, next feature release. All right, let's do that. So yes, we want to do that. So I'll call on those of you that we know. If you are a library or consortia that also has a nice set and you are willing to share them, please reach out to me or anybody on the organizing committee and let us know if you want to participate by sharing. Okay, great. Seeing notes already about we'd love to share them. Fabulous. So let's do that. So I'll just put together a bug and then reach out to those of you that I know are using them so we can start collecting. So look at that. So beyond that, for the idea to move things into the user interface, I've talked to a few developers already. I have not talked to Taryn and the new dev team because we just volunteer them from things from time to time. But one of the things I heard as I got back talking to developers is that this isn't a heavy lift. It's not one of those things that we're asking to stand on Evergreen to stand on its head and do things it hasn't done before. But the question here, and this is where I'm glad Andrea is here too, is really being more specific about what we want. I mean, if we just clearly this would be iterative, but let's just start with being able to add a new template. So being able to create a template in Mark Framework and save it, to add a new one, edit it, perhaps replace it and delete, which then leads to the inevitable questions of sharing, who has access to these things. Right now, it's my understanding that these are shared across the entire consortium. Is that right?
Yes, and they shouldn't be.
Okay. Yeah. So
Or
that's going
some
to
should
make.
and some should not.
Mhm. Yeah. So let me put this there. So currently shared at the consortium level. So I think that's part of the ask as well. We'd certainly like the option to not do that. Okay, so we really need a permissions to do that and the options to be able to support the permissions. For those of you that have worked with them, are there stumbling blocks you can see here about asking for this add, edit, replace, and delete? Which would clearly need different permissions. Is there anything else you can think about as we're putting together this kind of request? Ultimately, I'm marching towards going back to that Launchpad bug that I think I've linked up there a little, yeah, up there, that's been around since for the Earth cold, I think.
Training.
2013. Training, yes.
Training, yep.
Definitely. Documentation, training. Mm-hmm. Because what I learned and what I hear from Kate and Amy is, yes, we put those out there, but you both in different forms have supplemental materials that go along with them about how to use them. So yes, we definitely need training for that. Now that I've had this conversation, we started this kind of in November when we talked about templates. That one of the obstacles in using them is that you couldn't just create your own and add your own. Is there space or desire for people to be able to do literally just create your own that aren't shared at all? So a local template? Is that kind of demand there? Is that even something we would want to entertain?
I think for consistency across the consortia, for our purposes anyway, we would want probably we don't want them to just create all their own. It would be too much.
Yeah. That's what we would run into with item templates, the holdings editor templates, and then sharing around and it gets out of sync. And yeah. So no locally stored. Julia, okay, as a sysadmin in our consortium, I could see having templates for myself, but you wouldn't want library staff to create their own. Okay, that's fair, Julia. So if you're an admin person, you might want to have them for your own. Or even as you're putting them together, you might want to be able to save them in some sort of drafty kind of form. That's not a word, but be able to save them before you're ready to share them. So maybe you would want
As
that
a
together.
counterpoint,
Please do.
essentially any record can be a local template
Sure.
because presumably they would have access to the text editor. So
Mhm.
if there isn't a system to maintain your own local templates, people are going to make notepad files and just keep their own essentially local templates and copy and paste, which I wouldn't necessarily want because, copy and pasting introduces issues of
Oh
its
my
own.
gosh. Yes, it does. It sure does.
But it's not, you could not make a system for it, but it's not something that could be stopped.
Sure. Very good point. And it reminds me that I wanted to share this. I'm glad to get the question, Julia, and then your thoughts too there, Chris. In the Launchpad bug, there was some discussion has been, but BC, the cooperative there, Sitka has documented an alternative workflow, which does very much what Chris just suggested. You just create a bib record, a really good bib record, you save it. And then if you want to use it, you do a search through Z3950. I'm just linking here. So you just create your own bib record and get it just the way you want it, just through the not having a template yourself, but using the create a new record and then saving it so that it's in your catalog, but then you can get to it through import your record through Z3950 and your local catalog shows up. And that's the way you can access them. So you're essentially just creating a bib record, making sure it doesn't have items on it that are visible to the public. And so this is the workaround that Sitka's been using for years. So it almost gives us that kind of draft capacity as well. So we could definitely use this kind of workaround as you're developing templates to get them just the way you want them. Before then, it gets converted to XML and then loaded in. However, that's going to work through a staff interface, or even currently, if you're working on them. So I want to make sure I shared that. Thanks to Sitka for excellent documentation as always. Right. Well, Andrea and I can talk about this outside of here about how I take this conversation and turn it into actually something that's valuable and not too much into the Launchpad bug as it exists now to kind of move this forward. And so we got two different actions here. One is to just put together this sample collection, and the other is then to start working on what we would like to see and put that out there for the community to consider and then start promoting it. If you have not added heat to this Launchpad bug, please do. It's there, and I will add notes from today. I promised if you had a bug, we would talk about it. So, Chris, is this you, new holdings editor?
Yes,
Okay. Would you like to say a word about that while I go add heat to it?
I would. I'd like to call some attention to that bug. Um I don't know how other people are experiencing it, but it's certainly a bug that I get a lot of feedback from staff at consortium members a lot. This is the bug where certain fields in the new holdings editor can no longer be put back to unset.
Mm,
Um, and there's been a lot of discussion about this bug, but not necessarily in the direction of fixing it. It's been more of like what it should do. I think the functionality was that this clear button here. Thanks, I forgot I took the screenshot. Uh,
good job.
this clear button would reset the field to the bracket unset value
Mhm.
in the previous editor, and I think it was doing that when we were testing the new editor, but something along the way happened and it doesn't work. Uh, there was discussion under the bug about if that's what it should do. I think it should do that. I think the original functionality should be restored first, and if there needs to be a change, maybe then discuss it. Uh, I just wanted to bring this up because it could use well, it's got 86 heat, but it could use some more heat. It's certainly something that's impacting users at Noble a lot.
Yeah, I can see that because it's almost as if the functionality changed, right?
Well, it it's broken. It doesn't do anything. And there is no option. There's also no option in the drop down there's no like unset option anymore either. It only displays actual values, or I don't know how to describe it, but
Yeah. Okay.
there's no option in the interface once something has been saved over like age hold protection. Once it's saved, you can change the value to another, positive value for that field, but you can not take the value away. And that's what the
Got
clear button used to do.
it. Yeah. So you can change, you can't clear. Got it.
Right. And
And
not
this,
just this field, like a lot of other fields.
so they're all the attributes. What version is this? Let me go back to, I'm sure you said in your notes, didn't you? Of course you did.
Why
3.15.3.
it's 315.3.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hey,
Uh,
great notes.
yes, Heather. So yes, you cannot undo a mistake. If you apply a template and you change stuff, you can't change it. You can't apply a template with a saved unset value over it. That doesn't work. That was my first idea.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's stuck.
Yeah.
And it's more
So
than just age-hold protection.
has your workaround been to delete the item and re-add it, or?
That's the only way to do it on an individual basis. I think for some people, our database specialists have gone in and done database stuff, I think. There are a few, like this affects statistical categories too. So unsetting a bunch of those that required a database intervention at some point.
Okay, I'm just reading through the notes too. Okay, there's some bug at the end. Okay, let's see. What about the language? I know we're a minute over. Um, let me just ask something as simple as, does clear say what we want it to, or does reset having been the language before? Does it matter whether it says clear?
Uh, should be clear because that's what it did,
It does. Okay.
and in my humble opinion, it should do again.
Yeah. And, mhm. And I think we've kind of got that. Okay. And you've tested the one they said might fix it and it didn't. Okay. Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
not perfect, but tested. And Kathy's multiple paragraph there says the same thing, that she agrees that clear should just clear it, take it out, remove whatever's in the field. All right. So let's do this. Chris, are you on the cataloging listserv?
I think so.
Okay.
Should be.
Would you send this to the cataloging listserv? And I know we have quite a few people here now, but it will draw more attention that way. And then we can just
Yeah,
have
I'll
a
send
conversation
that.
because, yeah, this really is just, that's what I would call a blocker. Because if you literally can't undo something you've done, I would definitely call that a blocker. I would put a staff catalog blocker tag on it, is my recommendation. And then just send that out and get this conversation going outside of this to just draw some attention to it. This one's big
Yeah, I
enough
can
to,
take care of that.
of course, you can send it to the general list too. I'm not suggesting otherwise, but it does, yeah, certainly get us that. Thanks, because this is one that we don't want people to just have to find out on their own when we can find a
I know,
fix.
I've been surprised. I thought there'd be a little more upcry, but
Yeah.
maybe there are other inputters that are very meticulous about what they're inputting.
See,
Don't
maybe there
make
just aren't that
mistakes.
many people on 315 yet. One or the other. Okay, thanks for bringing it to us because that's the kind of thing that we can save heartache in the future. That perfect. This is
Thank
the
you.
time to do it. Okay, thank you, Chris, and thank you for sending that along too. All right, folks are a few minutes over. I always manage to do that, so thank you for your time. Thank you for this conversation. We will follow up on bid templates and probably tag quite a few of those and quite a few of you in email just to keep this going between now and March. So we'll check on the progress in March. We'll welcome Taryn in March. That's it. Anything else for the good of the order before I end the recording? Great. All righty. Well, thanks again. Enjoyed seeing you all. Take care. Stay warm. See you next time.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you. Janet, it was good to see you. I see you sneaking in there.
Yeah. Just hi from frozen Massachusetts,
Hello, frozen Massachusetts.
where my water pipes are frozen.
Oh, so that's terrible. Terrible, terrible. Do you have electricity at least?
Oh, I only have the water pipe to the washer frozen, so.
Okay.